very disturbing to me, and I'm sure to most people. Former child actor Corey Feldman told Nightline, Dr. Wendy, that pedophiles were everywhere in show business, and he blames a pedophile for the death of his friend Corey Haim. What do you make of these revelations from him?
Well, you know, I certainly can't talk about any specific case because I wasn't there, but I can talk in general about the kinds of climates that pedophiles are able to operate in. Anytime there's a closed system where there's a hierarchy and rules, very much like Hollywood, and in Hollywood there's also sort of narcissism reigns and individual pleasures sort of reign, and they're used to spoiled babies getting whatever they want in Hollywood. In addition, the kind of children that are dropped into a very adult world in Hollywood tend to be very precocious and very intelligent. So a pedophile could rationalize it with, well, he's not like any other 13-year-old. He knows what's going on. He understands. He's grown up. He's really an adult in a kid's body.
There's no rationalization
So I can understand. Terrible rationalization, but I can understand how the environment, if this is in fact true, can create an epidemic of pedophilia that Corey's claiming exists.
I hope there's more investigating into this, Dr. Wendy, because I mean that is terrible. Okay.
Well, he's very specific. He said there's one mogul out there who should be arrested right now, and he can't say his name.
But he said one mogul, but why isn't he naming specific names? Because this is a terrible thing to do to a child.
Exactly. Well, you'll have to ask him, Don. Get him on your show.
Thank you. That is a good response to that, and we will do that. But hey, I'm wondering, why isn't he naming names if he's accusing someone of doing?
Corey Feldman has no idea what it's like not to be famous. He was just 3 years old in this McDonald's commercial.
McDonald's gift certificates.
I literally was famous before I knew my own name.
His roles defined the 80s. Goonies.
This was my dream, my wish.
Stand By Me.
You call my dad a loony again, and I'll kill you.
License to Drive.
The only difference between you and that greaseball is that he has a license and you don't.
Films that propelled him into the spotlight for his entire youth. But being famous so young, he says, caused serious damage to him and his friends.
Do you feel like you missed out on a normal childhood?
What childhood? I don't know what that means.
A lost childhood and a loss of innocence. He blames the adults, not just those looking to profit from charming children, but also some with far more sinister motives.
I can tell you that the number one problem in Hollywood was and is and always will be pedophilia. That's the biggest problem for children in this industry.
The casting couch even applies to children.
Oh yeah. Not in the same way. It's all done under the radar.
Nobody talks about pedophilia.
It's the big secret.
And it's widespread?
Oh yeah. I was surrounded by them when I was 14 years old. Surrounded. Literally. Didn't even know it. It wasn't until I was old enough to realize what they were and what they wanted and what they were about and the types of people that were surrounding me till I went, oh my God, they were everywhere like vultures.
Vultures who Feldman says abused him and his best friend, the late child actor Corey Haim, his co-star in The Lost Boys.
Well, what happens if my mom is dating the head vampire?
Feldman says the trauma of that pedophilia contributed to Haim's death.
There's one person to blame in the death of Corey Haim, and that person happens to be a Hollywood mogul. And that person needs to be exposed, but unfortunately I can't be the one to do it. But the person that knows who did it and knows who he is watching right now, I guarantee you. Yeah.
Intriguing.
Yeah. There was a circle of older men that surrounded themselves around this group of kids. And they all had either their own power or connections to great power in the entertainment industry.
Feldman won't name names. And he admits his friend had a struggle with addiction, which he says was a mechanism to cope with his demons.
It was a symptom.
It was a symptom, correct.
Are we in it?
In 2008, the two Coreys confronted each other on their reality show about the dark past they shared.
You let me get around in my life, man, raped, so to speak, when I was about 14 and a half, and I'm saying this right now. What'd you do, man, when you saw that going down when I was 14 to me? What'd you do? You knew about it.
You want to talk about the truth? Okay, well then let's talk about the truth. I was being molested at the same time by somebody else. What'd you do? You know, there's a lot of good people in this industry. But there's also a lot of really, really sick, corrupt people in this industry. And there are people in this industry who have gotten away with it for so long that they feel they're above the law. And that's got to change. That's got to stop.
We contacted Corey Haim's mother. In an email, she said, "I'm not willing to discuss or respond to anything Corey Feldman has to say. I wish he would talk about himself only and leave my son out of it."
Is there a dark side to child stardom?
Definitely. I think a lot of kids don't really want to do it. I think that the parents want to do it more than the kids.
Chris Snyder says for most child stars, it's the parents that can cause more damage. And he would know, having managed with his late boss Iris Burton some of the most iconic child stars, including Feldman, River Phoenix, and Drew Barrymore.
The biggest problem in the whole thing is when the parents start to live through the kids and quit their jobs and buy expensive houses, buy expensive cars, and the parents aren't understanding it's not going to go on forever, and it just wrecks everything.
Feldman's parents managed his career until the money came between them.
I got legally emancipated by going to the Producer's Pension Health and Welfare Plan myself at 14 years old and saying, what were my earnings and what's left? Earnings, by the time I was 13 years old, $1 million, which is really not that much money, but in those days it was. You know, in the late 70s, early 80s, that was a good chunk of change.
And how much was left?
$40,000. And guess what? When I went in for the emancipation trial, my father said, since I spent my time with you on your last film and took it away from my office where I should have been focused, instead, I'm going to ask you for that $40,000 back as repayment for the money that I lost in my business.
You had to pay your dad?
Correct. You can check the court filings. That was a fact. Wow. So I started at zero at 15 years old, coming out of the hole.
We asked the court for the records, but they're sealed. In a statement, Corey's father, Bob Feldman, told us any money that the court awarded is a fraction of his claim. And this was a reimbursement for strictly professional expenses. For instance, private school, a publicist, professional wardrobe, traveling expenses, and lots more. This helped to save his career while he was in trouble with drug problems. I thought I was doing the best for my son, and I am always here for him. Child stardom is not a dream Feldman has for his own son.
I'll see you in a minute.
He is, after all, one of the few stars who doesn't let his child get photographed on the red carpet.
Would you ever put your own kid into the industry?
No, absolutely not.
Never?
Never. I believe that everybody in this world should have the freedom of choice.
And child stars don't?
Child stars have nothing. They have nothing. They have no choice. I was never taught how to have a family. I was never taught how to raise a child because I wasn't raised properly. I was never taught how to care for somebody because I was never shown genuine love. I was shown business. This is what you do. Here's how you read a contract. I knew how to read a contract by 10 years old, but I didn't know what it meant for somebody to come in and tell me they love me and kiss me goodnight. That's a problem.
X-Men director Bryan Singer accused of raping child actor. A 31-year-old former child actor, Michael Egan III, and his lawyer, Jeff Herman, have brought a civil suit against X-Men director Bryan Singer, accusing him of numerous crimes committed in the late 90s. Chief among those accusations, the repeated rape of Egan between the age of 15 and 17. Egan says at age 15, his high school classmate took him to the estate of Hollywood heavyweight Mark Collins Rector. Collins Rector was among the founders of Digital Entertainment Network, a company in which Bryan Singer had invested. And the suit alleges he was the ringleader of a gay child sex party scene catered towards Hollywood elites, of which Singer was one. Those parties took place at Collins Rector's Encino, California M&C estate. Collins Rector hired Egan for a variety of acting and modeling gigs. But Egan's real purpose was to be available for sex at gay parties on the estate. That was how he first met Bryan Singer. Egan says Singer was present when Collins Rector told Egan he was gay and threatened his family if Egan revealed the parties. Once, when Egan protested, Collins Rector pushed him into the master bedroom, threatened him with a gun, and locked him in a gun safe. The abuse continued for months. On another occasion, Singer physically forced Egan to orally service him in a hot tub, then sodomized the 15-year-old repeatedly. Then in 1999, when Egan was 17, he was flown to Hawaii twice for a week at a time, where the partiers lived on the Paul Mitchell estate in Kailua. Once again, Egan's purpose was to be available for sex to the group of powerful men. Like California, the parties in Hawaii were replete with guns, drugs, and alcohol, and sex between adult men and underage boys. While there, Singer plied Egan with cocaine, Xanax, Rohypnol, Vicodin, and a triangular green pill he believes was ecstasy. He promised Egan a role in the next X-Men movie if he stopped resisting, or else he'd tell Collins Rector. Egan was terrified of Mark Collins Rector, who in 2004 would be convicted of trafficking children across state lines for the purpose of sex, based on the testimony of other boys on the Hawaii trips. He's now a registered sex offender. Michael Egan was in hell. One night he went for a walk alone on the beach, which infuriated Bryan Singer. On his return, Singer told Egan he's supposed to be available for sex on demand, ordered him to strip, and threw him in the pool. He forced a fistful of cocaine into Egan's face, made him swallow a strong drink, and then molested him. Afterwards, Singer took Egan indoors, where he once again raped the now 17-year-old. Michael Egan III and his lawyer Jeff Herman brought the suit in Hawaii because the statute of limitations on the crimes committed there runs out next week. Meanwhile, Bryan Singer's attorney says the charges are without merit and dismissed the case as an attempt by Herman to drum up publicity for his law practice.
4 powerful Hollywood moguls were accused of committing the sexual abuse of teenage boys in 1999. They include X-Men director Bryan Singer, former president of BBC Worldwide America and former head of programming for Fox, NBC, and the WB, Garth Ancier, Gary Goddard, the head of a Los Angeles design group, and former president of Disney TV, David Newman. Mr. Newman previously worked with the ringleader of the perversion, Mark Collins Rector. Mr. Rector is a registered sex offender that pled guilty in 2004 to luring minors across state lines for sexual acts. The accuser is Michael Egan, now 31 years old. He claims that when he was a teenager, he was given money and threatened to keep quiet about the events that took place in Hawaii and Los Angeles, or he would be eliminated, along with his family. However, Mr. Egan claims to have reported it to the police and subsequently the FBI in the year 2000, but no action was taken. Mr. Egan's lawyer, Jeff Herman, has until April 24th, 2014, to file additional charges against additional alleged perps in the state of Hawaii. Thursday, April 24th, is the cutoff date for past sexual abuse cases to be filed under a 2-year window. All of the sordid details will be coming out in a documentary by Oscar-nominated director Amy Berg, nominated for Deliver Us from Evil, her expose on sexual abuse in the Catholic Church. The accusations have sent a shockwave of regret through Hollywood, as bigger names may be revealed for what they truly are. Sexual abuse of minors by Hollywood big shots is nothing new. The two Coreys, Feldman and Haim, recounted how they were abused by executives. Corey Feldman says it led to Corey Haim's untimely death. Well-known actor Jeffrey Jones was arrested for possession of child pornography and accused of soliciting a 14-year-old boy to pose for pornographic photographs. Oscar-winning director Roman Polanski was hunted for years for the rape of a 13-year-old girl, eventually ending up doing time in a Swiss prison. The perversion in the British entertainment industry is just as flagrant. BBC presenter Stuart Hall was jailed in 2013 for 14 counts of indecent assault against girls as young as 9. BBC radio personality Freddie Zapp was accused of sexual assault of a female, and of course, we all know of Jimmy Savile's unrelenting abuse of minors that spiraled out of control for years while authorities looked the other way. There are 1 million children exploited every year in the global sex trade, a $32 billion industry that has ties to the highest levels of government. The time has come to reclaim our dignity from the sick, elitist cancer that is rotting the very core of humanity.
Are you surprised by the success you've had? You're the highest rated comedy show on cable.
I'm very flattered and grateful for that. Surprised? Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the correct answer, right? Yeah.
Pleasantly and happily.
And what makes you a good dad?
Everything. Next question.
I mean, is there anything in particular that...
It's nobody's business, man. That's
Yeah.
between me and my kids, you know?
It's been a tough few months for you. There's a lot of things that the people aren't aware of.
Denise Richards alleges that Bob and Max have slapped, punched, spat on her children.
One of the photos of Bob, there is a burn mark or slap mark.
How difficult was it for you to have to give them up? There's a lot of elements involved that made it very, very difficult.
Denise caught in the middle of Hollywood's ugliest custody battle between her ex, Charlie Sheen, and his ex, Brooke Mueller. 12 days ago, Denise handed over her responsibilities as Bob and Max's guardian. The details of why she outlined in a letter she privately sent to Child Protective Services. November the 5th, that 7-page letter went viral, and allegations of the boys being violent to dogs and playing with their feces went public.
My children disclosed just sexual abuse in early 1993. They were masturbating. They were pulling their pants down at the supermarket. They started having oral sex with my St. Bernard, inserting pens and pencils into the dog's rectum. The behavior got worse and worse and worse. I knew I had a big, big problem, and I had no idea what it was called. I called all over the country. I had children's drawings for the police. My husband was under arrest for sodomy and oral sex with my children. And I had all kinds of drawings that had circles and people with, there was black candles always in the middle of these tables, and all this oral and anal sex pictures. And I went to the Catholic Church and I said, I don't know what this is, but it seems to me these drawings are significant. There are all kinds of symbols I don't understand, and devil heads and goat's heads, and I had no idea I did not know what satanic ritual abuse was.
What was your first reaction when you found out and saw that the letter got leaked? I was actually here at work. I was sick about it. I couldn't even look at anything, and I was angry because it was, then I stopped and had to remember, oh my God, what did I write in that? Because it was a very personal thing. I was embarrassed, and...
Why would you be embarrassed?
Well, because it was such a personal thing. I was angry because it was, then I stopped and had to remember, oh my God, what did I write in that? Because it was a very personal thing. I was embarrassed, and...
Why would you be embarrassed?
Well, because it was such a personal thing, and I was sick about it, and then I thought maybe I should have done it differently and put it in a cart. I don't know. I don't want a toxic relationship with him. That's not to say we have our little moments and, you know, whatever. But we get past it the next day.
tell you that the #1 problem in Hollywood was and is and always will be pedophilia. That's the biggest problem for children in this industry.
The casting couch even applies to children.
Oh yeah. Not in the same way. It's all done under the radar.
Nobody talks about pedophilia.
It's the big secret.
And it's widespread?
Oh yeah. I was surrounded by them when I was 14 years old. Surrounded. Literally. Didn't even know it. It wasn't until I was old enough to realize what they were and what they wanted and what they were about and the types of people that were surrounding me till I went, oh my God, they were everywhere like vultures.
Vultures who Feldman says abused him and his best friend, the late child actor Corey Haim, his co-star in The Lost Boys.
Well, what happens if my mom is dating the head vampire?
Feldman says the trauma of that pedophilia contributed to Haim's death.
There's one person to blame in the death of Corey Haim, and that person happens to be a Hollywood mogul. And that person needs to be exposed, but unfortunately I can't be the one to do it. But the person that knows who did it and knows who he is watching right now, I guarantee you. One person to blame in the death of Corey Haim, and that person happens to be a Hollywood mogul. And that person needs to be exposed, but unfortunately I can't be the one to do it. But the person that knows who did it and knows who he is watching right now, I guarantee you.